special, unique person. His name is Rabbi Baumgarten. He's here for many, many years, passed away young, unfortunately, in the early 80s or late 70s. But when he first went there, he had a very hard time. He used to write to the Rebbe about all of his troubles and hardships and what's going on. And one time he was in New York and he was by the Rebbe, and he told the Rebbe about this next roadblock on his shlichus. And the Rebbe heard him out, and the Rebbe lifted up his hands and he says in English, Rabbi Baumgarten, no more complaints. It's time to serve Hashem and do your avodah, your work with simcha. Not simcha because I told you to be besimcha, but because you really want to do it, that you really are besimcha. Now, if someone is complaining, my neighbor managed to get the 2025, hottest Tesla, hottest or newest Ferrari that's coming out. I only managed to get the 2023. So that we can understand there's no room for complaint. You're complaining that you're not as spoiled. It's not a necessity. For things that are a necessity, and you complain that you need it, that makes total sense. If you don't get paid from your employer, obviously, it makes sense that you should demand what you need, what you get paid. So, in this week's parsha, you have the passing away of Aaron HaKohen, Moshe Rabbeinu's brother, and his sister Miriam. It says that after Aaron passed away, suddenly they were attacked. Who's attacking them? He says that the Canaanite nations. They heard that Aaron passed away, and they attacked the Jewish people. What was unique? It says because the Jewish people were always living in the clouds, literally. They were surrounded on all sides by Anania Kavod, clouds of glory of Hashem that protected them. After Aaron passed away, they left. All these clouds went away. As long as Miriam was alive, there was a well, a big rock that had a well, which water would come from that rock and would give water to drink for the entire Jewish people. It split up into 12 rivers, and every shevet, every tribe had their own well, had their own source of water, their own mikveh, and they also, Shalom Aleichem, Mr. Nadich, and they each one, it says, as a matter of fact, they had to take a boat to travel from one tribe to another because they were separated by a river. When Miriam passed away, then this stopped as well. That's why Moshe and Aaron hit the rock. Later on, it says in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu, the well came back. There was no water for the people, and people complained to Moshe Rabbeinu. What should we do? We don't see anywhere that Jewish people complained, hey, in the Torah is not written, where did the clouds of glory go? Where did the Anania Kavod go? Seemingly, if you're in the desert, this is just as essential for life as water. It protects you from the sun, it protects you from the storms. It killed any snakes and scorpions on the way. It straightened the path for them. So how could the Jewish people just be quiet and take it sitting down when the clouds of glory went away? So the truth is, there are two different clouds, if you look in the words of our sages, that were in the desert. The typical term used is anane hakavod, clouds of glory. Then is called ananim, clouds. There's two different. There's the clouds which were surrounding the Jewish people, which gave them their needs. It protected them. It washed their clothes for them. The second type is called anani hakavod, clouds of glory, which the only purpose was to add glory, add honor to the Jewish people. That look, Hashem says, these people, this Jewish nation, this is my people. And Hashem is honoring them by taking his clouds and going wherever he goes, will the Jewish nation go? So when Aaron passed away, it says the clouds of glory left, not necessarily the clouds. And this is the most simple understanding of the Torah. A Medrashim, which are not according to the simple understanding, might tell you that all the Edom in the clouds of glory came back. But anything which was essential for the Jewish people never went away, was always there. So the Jewish people didn't have what to complain about when the clouds of glory left, because they didn't need them to live, to survive. The well, which came from the rock, that they needed to survive. And that's why they complained, and it came back in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu. Question is, Moshe Rabbeinu was such a great tzchus, a great merit, that the mun, the food from heaven, came in his merit, and you also had the water, the Be'er Miriam, the well of Miriam, come back in his merit. Why couldn't the clouds of glory, which left by Aaron, why couldn't they come back? So let's look at what every single one of these three individuals are. If three siblings, power siblings, Moshe, Aaron, Miriam. Oldest one was Miriam. 3 years younger than her was Aaron. 3 years younger than her was, and then him was Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu, he was the Raya Neman, Raya Mehemna, faithful shepherd. Took care of the Jewish people. A shepherd takes care of the needs of his sheep. Feeds them, protects them. It doesn't matter to him which sheep is more virtuous, is nicer, better, more deserving than the other one. Everyone is protected, every single sheep. Moshe Rabbeinu protected, cared for every Jew, regardless who they are. Doesn't matter how great you are, how small you are. He advocated, he put himself on the line for the sake of every Jew, even if they sinned. If someone's missing something, someone's in a fight with the other, the judgment always went to Moshe Rabbeinu. He took care of that. Miriam, she was in Mitzrayim, in Egypt, she was a nurse, a wet nurse, a woman who would help other women give birth. She would take care of babies, cuddle them, give them to eat, to drink, teach them words of Torah. And that was the greatness of Miriam. So Miriam, she gave the basics that the Jewish people needed as well, the water. The Jewish woman throughout all the generations, the entire Yiddishkeit, and the entire warmth and excitement that anyone has in Yiddishkeit comes in the merit and the schus of their mother. When they're a young child, their mother takes care of them, teaches them to wash their hands, teaches them about the Hashem. They have an unquestionable belief in Hashem. Aaron was bringing korbanos in the Beis Hamikdash. True, he loved every single Jew, but he's called Aaron HaKohen. Ukoyin idea is to bring everyone up a level. Not only that people should be good, accept in the way they are, but to raise them and elevate them to a higher level. You have somebody who's just surviving, and they're only alive because it hasn't been their turn to pass on from the world yet. And you can elevate people to have a special purpose. You can make them honorable. And that's what a kohen does. A kohen elevates the people. When they come to the Beis Hamikdash, bring a korban. And that's Anania covered. Finding the honor in every single person, which was Aaron HaKohen. So when Aaron passed away, this idea of covered, the clouds of glory, which Hashem put on the Jewish people, left. The basic needs, the well, that they needed, that Moshe Rabbeinu could bring back for them. And Moshe, as a shepherd, gives the Jewish people everything they need. But to bring people, the entire nation, up to a higher level, that you needed Aaron HaKohen for. And that's why when Aaron passed away, the clouds of glory left, and they never came back, even during the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. We see the greatness of a Rebbe, a Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation, and of every generation, the shepherd of the Jewish people. Moshe Rabbeinu cared about every single person, every Jew, regardless of who they are, and make sure they had every single need. The Medrash says that even after Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, there was still left over mun for the Jewish people. In the Torah it says for 30 days, but the Medrash says for 14 years they still had enough mun after Moshe Rabbeinu passed away. Only after they started farming the land of Eretz Yisrael did they run out of mud. And this is what a leader of the flock of the Jewish people, that take care of every single need of anyone in the Jewish nation. A spiritual need, a physical need, even after we don't see them anymore, still they're taking care of all of our needs. So we have we have a Kohen, Ira HaKohen, cats, and the Kohanim in the Beis HaMikdash did all the very important avodah services in the Beis HaMikdash, but the singers were the Leviim. But in this week's parasha, you see a song that the entire Jewish nation, whole entire Jewish people sang this week, about the well of Miriam. The well came back and they said, Be'er chafaru asarim. You have a well which the great leaders, the great officers, they dug, which are Moshe and Aaron. They brought the well of Miriam for us. And then it says, Matana Matana, and was given to us as from the desert, we received a gift. Which gift did we receive? Says Rashi. I'll just bring it up on the screen. Says Rashi, Midbar Matana. Where is it? The Torah reading. Okay, let's go back to here. Let me share this on the screen just so we can see it online, and we'll get a head start on today's Chumash. The Jewish people camped in Oivos, and Oz Yasher Yisrael. Then the Jewish people sang this song, Aliva Er Enula. Ascend a well, sing to it. Let's show Rashi's commentary. The story behind it, of course, I'm sure everyone's familiar, is when the Jewish people were traveling, they had to pass through a narrow mountain pass, and several nations decided they're going to ambush them from two sides and kill them all. And when the clouds of glory, when the clouds came, it pushed the mountains together and it killed all the enemies who wanted to destroy them. And then the Jewish people did not know about how they were saved. And Hashem made that all the limbs of all the people who got killed of their enemies came into the river. They're able to see what happened. And they said, and they started singing to Hashem, thank you for saving us. It says, Moshe and Aaron dug out this well. Through their Moshe Rabbeinu gave us a Torah. He took his staff on Midbar Matana, and he gave it to us as a gift. It says Moshe Rabbeinu, every time the Jews camped, he would take his staff, his long stick, and he would make out lines between every shevet, between every tribe, and the river, the water from the well, will flow along those lines. And then he says in Midbar Matana, from the desert, it is a gift. Umatan Nachalil and Nachalil Bamas. It was given to them, it descended with them to the streams. And from there, the well continued with them until Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, and then it stopped. Another explanation is it's going on the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu gave the Torah to the Jewish people as a gift, Midbar Matana. Mechoykeg is the one who makes the laws. Moshe Rabbeinu, who gave us the laws, gave us a gift from the desert, which is the Torah. Gave it as a nachla, every Jew could inherit it. And from the inheritance, everyone goes very, very high. Meaning the Torah raises you up, lifts you up. And that is what the Jewish people were praising Moshe Rabbeinu. And eventually, he says, the well of Miriam came with them to Eretz Yisrael, and now it's inside the Yam Sheteveria, the Kinneret. And if you know where it is, you could find it. And every Matzah Shabbos, it goes to all the wells all around the world. So in the Frierdiker Rebbe, once in the year 1940, This is right. This is the first when Friedrich Rebbe just moved to America, moved to the U.S., just escaped from the Nazis. And America was a place which was called the Treifene Medina. This is the non-kosher country. Everyone who went to America, nobody there, whoever came to America did not stay religious. Children went to public school. They had to work on Shabbos. There was no 5-day work week. It was a 6-day work week. And nobody would allow, anyone who wanted to stay firm and religious for more than one generation to go to America. And Friedrich Rebbe comes to America, saying America is not any different, and America will be a place of Torah and will be the source of Torah for the world. And explaining on these words that every single Jew, Matana Nachaliel, these words, from the gifts to the streams, every Jew is given as a gift and nachla, inheritance, the light of the Torah. And he's able to find the good in everything in the world and to elevate it, and anything which is not good, mibamas, the heights, mean any high sparks of godliness, will elevate. Stay Mayav, the field of Mayav. Mayav is idea of Klippa, the nation which wanted to kill the Jews, to destroy them. Everything which was great, mebamas, the great sparks of godliness, which were stuck in Klippa, in the opposite of holiness, in the Sedei Mayav, in the field of Mayav, you elevate it to Rosh HaPiska, the top of the peak. You're able to find godly sparks that are stuck inside of everything, into the Klippa of this world, and bring it to the top of the peaks, bring it back to godliness, to make the world a place where Hashem could live, and to elevate and to remove any coarse facade of the world, to find the greatness of the world. But the first thing is, and it goes, Yishkafar, you're able to look over Yeshimain, the wastelands, meaning you're able to look from far away, look at how much was done. It starts off with the words Midbar Matana, says Friedrich Rebbe. Matana, it's a gift. We are given a gift in order to elevate all the godliness in this world. Find the godliness and elevate it. And what is that gift that was given to us, says the Friedrich Rebbe? What is this Matana? Matana is a Chassidishe farbrengen. That is a gift Hashem gave us to give us the ability to find the godly sparks in this world and to elevate it. Not to be affected, but on the contrary, to effect everything else. We're going to discuss a little bit the wonderful qualities and the great long-lasting effects that a Chassidishe farbrengen could have in the upper worlds and in the way it is by early Chassidim. In the summer of the year 1889, in the town of Lubavitch, you had a great chassid, Reb Gershon Ber Pahar, was already an older chassid at that point. He was one of the greatest students of Reb Hillel of Paritcher. Already was a chassid from the times of Tzemach Tzedek. He was someone who was a genius, but worked on himself a lot, davened every single day for many, many hours a day, learned Chassidus and many hours a day. Reb Gershon Ber Pahar, he took over Hillel Paritcher's role, which in turn took over the Mittler Rebbe's role of traveling to all the small, called the colonias, the colonies. There's several villages which the Friedrich Rebbe, which the Mittler Rebbe set up. Main reason was Mittler Rebbe started it was, first of all, to give Jews a livelihood, the farming villages. Second of all, there was a decree called the Kantonistan decree, where the Russian government would abduct or kidnap Jewish boys and force them, enlist them in the army for 20 years, 25 years. If you settled in some of these colonias, you settled the area, you didn't have to go to the army for 20 years or 25 years. And the Reb Gershon Ber and Mittler Rebbe himself settled many Chassidim in these colonies.
So they should have a livelihood. And he traveled himself to visit them. Then on Gershon Ber Hillel Parasher would do it every year, and he's even buried in Kherson in the area of these colonies, of these small villages. Some are still around, but don't have too many Jews left. Unfortunately, the Nazis killed everyone, and the communist, Sektia, unfortunately, sort of abducted their minds. And we can still visit some of these colonies that the Mittler Rebbe started. And Gershon Ber Pahar took over Hillel Parasher, visiting them in every single year, because they felt so far from the Rebbe that they would receive a visit every single year. And there are many great chassidim together with Gershon Ber Pahar, all gathered in Lubavitch at that time. Now, being that Rabbi Gershon Ber Pahar was a devoted Talmud, devoted student of Rabbi Hillel Parasher, Rabbi Hillel Masayev, who was a tremendous tzaddik. As the Tzemach Tzedek said, he has 3.5 chassidim, and he mentioned them who they are. Isaac Hamler, and he says Hillel Parasher is only half a chassid because half of him is a Rebbe. From a young age, he was already able to see, saying the kedusha of Matla Chernobler, etc. He was called the Cholamoid because he was married before his bar mitzvah, so he had a talis before he was wearing tefillin like a Cholamoid. He was already a Baki B'Shas, Baki B'Zohar, poskim before his bar mitzvah. So Reb Hillel Parasher one time said at a chassidische farbrengen, "Was a chassidische farbrengen can uftan, can Malach Michal nicht uftan." What a chassidische farbrengen, chassidim gather together in order to encourage each other, bounce ideas off each other, to serve Hashem better, and you say Chaim to awaken a person, to peel away the layers of the heart. It says Malach Michal cannot do. Reb Zalman Zezmer, who was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe, tremendous Tam Chacham, was a big opponent of chassidim, eventually became a chassid, one of the greatest chassidim of the Alter Rebbe. He heard from chassidim who were connected to the Reb Mendel of Haradak. So we're talking about the early 1770s. He says one time the chassidim of Reb Mendel of Haradak, the Alter Rebbe, after the Maggid passed away, used to go to Reb Mendel of Haradak. But then in the year 1776, he moved to Eretz Yisrael. And then Alter Rebbe wanted to go with him. And he told Alter Rebbe, your mission is to stay over here in Russia, White Russia, and to spread Chassidus over here. You're going to have a lot of hardships. For me, it will be too difficult. You were given the task from the Hashem Shemaim to spread Chassidus throughout these countries. And Reb Mendel of Haradak, interestingly, it says during those years is when the Alter Rebbe developed Chassidus Chabad. The 1773 to 1776, and 1776 is when the Alter Rebbe became Rebbe. At the time, 1781 was already established. Exactly the same years that this country, U.S., was established. So Chassidim of Reb Mendel of Haradak were by a farbrengen, and they were repeating Torah teachings that they heard from the Rebbe, from Reb Mendel of Haradak. The Alter Rebbe was also in Haradak at that time, and everybody reviewed the Torah that they heard, teachings from Reb Mendel of Haradak. It was somewhere 1773 to 1776. And after reviewing it 2 or 3 times, they started speaking other topics, all in the realm of kedusha, of holiness, of Torah, and they brought mashke. And one of the chassidim over there of the Reb Mendel of Haradak was very, very sick. And the doctor said, there's no way to heal them. There's no hope for him. And he, in front of all these fellow chassidim, he started crying and he says, please give me a bracha. I should have a complete recovery, complete refuah shalema. So one of the chassidim is here, started laughing at him and tells him, us? You think we could give a bracha? What do you think we could give a bracha? And some other says, why do you have such trust in simple people like us? A bracha is only for a tzaddik, for the Rebbe, go to Reb Mendel of Haradak. But he didn't pay any attention to them, and he asked them and begging them. And he became so overwhelmed with emotion, he started crying from the depths of his heart. So this fellow chassidim there thought to calm him down, to take, and they started singing a niggin. Everyone should, maybe he'll calm down in the meantime. Then the Alter Rebbe was there, and he says, Shah, everyone quiet. The Alter Rebbe was tremendously respected, of course. And everyone became quiet. This chassid stopped crying. And the Alter Rebbe says, my dear brothers, you forgot what the special note from heaven, the students of the Maggid Mizrich, what was given over to them from heaven. That a decree from Shemayim was said by the Chevrai Kadisha, the select students, 120 select students of the Maggid Mizrich. Was a chassidische farbrengen can uftan, can Malach Michal not uftan. What a chassidische farbrengen can accomplish, even Malach Michal cannot accomplish. Everybody suddenly remembered this saying, and everyone with tremendous feeling and emotion, they gave a bracha to their friend that he should be, before Shalema should be completely healed and have a complete recovery. The Hill Parachon is repeating the story that he heard from Zalman Zezmer, heard this from the Chassidim of the Mechamend of Haradak, who were there when the Alter Rebbe said this. He explained this saying, and he gave a mashal, gave for an example. Little children, their nature is that they care what they need about themselves. And they don't really think what the other person needs so much. And they're jealous of what someone else has. If a friend has this, my friend has a nicer pencil case, and my friend has a, who knows this and that. And children's, emotions are not so developed yet, and they get angry very fast, and they could become mean very fast, or they could become violent, hitting very fast. And if they act consistently in ways like this, father is not too happy. Father has a lot of pain from it. However, the father tried, teaching them, telling them what to do. Maybe back in the day, tried, giving him a biksa, teaching them, disciplining them. Finally, the father was able to find a very good teacher who was able to get involved and become devoted to his son, and he was able to teach him and how to act. And in a short time, a while later, he sees that his child suddenly changed, became a new, different type of person, became nice, helpful, friendly, looking out for how he could help somebody else. The father was so happy from everything that his son did, that now he was filled with overwhelming love to his son, and he's so happy, so much enjoyment, and whatever his son wanted to do from then on, the father was happy to do it. And that's the idea of chassidische farbrengen. Chassidische farbrengen, for the chassidim get together and they have Avas Yisrael, Achdas Yisrael, one with the other, and that in turn causes Hashem so much nachas that he's ready to fulfill whatever these sons of Hashem want when they get along with each other. That's the idea of chassidische farbrengen, the way of kindness. And the Zalman Zezmer says, if a bracha goes out from the mouth of chassidim, it could bring tremendous rachmanis, tremendous mercy from Hashem, more than even Malach Michal, the angel Michal in heaven, which is always constantly trying to find brachas and mercy from Hashem. And so all together, they gave him a bracha to this friend of theirs, and this person became Baruch Hashem, healed. And there's many stories of what a chassidische farbrengen can uftan, what a chassidische farbrengen could accomplish. You give a bracha to someone else, and the brachas become fulfilled. The blessings become fulfilled. In Russia, the Chassidim would always bless each other during the hard days, and after the Rebbe, Friedrich Rebbe left Russia, we should be zoiche. We should see the zenzich with the Rebbe. We should see the Rebbe very soon. There was one farbrengen where Chassidim gave a bracha. We should see the Rebbe. The Rebbe should be gesund. The Rebbe should be well. and they said a little Chaim by the farbrengen, and a few Chassidim got very excited, and they said, okay, we're traveling to the Rebbe. Let's make a choo-choo train. And they took a bunch of chairs, and they put them up in a row, and they all sat down, and now we're traveling, and one chassid became the conductor, and we're traveling, we're in this stop now, we're in that stop, and a few other people by that farbrengen started looking at them, are you crazy? And started laughing at them, you're silly, stop playing these games. And what happened was every single chassid who joined that train, by that make-believe farbrengen, they ended up being able to leave Russia and seeing the Rebbe. And every one of Chassidim who were standing on the side, unfortunately, did not make it out of Russia. But Chassidische farbrengen could accomplish tremendous, tremendous things. There was a chassid of the Rebbe Marash, who for many years did not have children. He would always come to the Rebbe Marash and ask for a bracha for children, and never did the Rebbe Marash give him a clear bracha, clear blessing. Now, this chassid was, he used to have to travel a lot out of town, but his house was an open house where Chassidim could always come and learn. And if they wanted a farbrengen, it was always in his house. And one time there was a farbrengen in his house. He was out of town, he was away. And it came late at night, and they ran out of, I think it was, there's no l'chaim for a farbrengen, and they asked his wife if she has any more l'chaim, any more mashka. And she told them, I don't have any. Says, could you get from your neighbor? And she says, I'll only get for you on condition that you give me a bracha, I should have a child. And she said, and they said, who are we to give a bracha? And she said, no, I don't. If you want me to provide for you, that's your condition. And a little while later, they felt that they really wanted to do it, and they all together got up and they gave her a bracha together. She should be blessed with Zara Chayev Kayama, with children. And a little while later, she actually had a baby. She, Baruch Hashem, she got pregnant. She had a child. Her husband came from out of town, and later on, husband was wondering, if the Rebbe Marash never gave me a bracha for children, how is it possible she could become pregnant and have children? Later on, he traveled to the Rebbe Marash again, and to tell him about the bracha and the blessing from Hashem. And his wife told him the story about the bracha from Chassidim. So he told the Rebbe Marash, I don't understand. Says the Rebbe himself, obviously the Rebbe is a Rebbe. Who are we to even, come close to imagining anything of what a Rebbe is? And the Rebbe couldn't give me a bracha, but Chassidim out of farbrengen gave me a bracha and it became fulfilled. How is that? And the Rebbe Marash, I don't know if he smiled or laughed, and the Rebbe Marash said that I saw in Shemayim in heaven that you weren't blessed, as we learned in Kunter Semayin, to have all three channels: Zara, Bari, Chayim, Azayni, life, children, livelihood. And I saw that if you would have a child, then you would pass away. So I didn't want that. I didn't want to give you a bracha because I didn't want to be the cause of you to pass away. However, Rebbe Marash says, Chassidim Naranim. Chassidim are fools. They don't know what's going on in Shemayim in heaven. They can't see that. And therefore, they gave you a bracha. When they gave you a bracha, the bracha will last, and you'll have you also, Baruch Hashem, you'll have a nice long life, and you, Baruch Hashem, have the bracha as well. So a bracha from another chassid can have a tremendous effect, especially when it comes from a Chassidish farbrengen. That's why it's always an important thing. We see other people give each other brachas, blessings, by Chassidish farbrengens. Always, all the time, but especially a Chassidish farbrengen is a auspicious time. And it's not just something of old. It can happen nowadays, even contemporary stories of such things. Chassid give a bracha, and at a farbrengen, Chassidim give a bracha at a farbrengen, and it becomes fulfilled in many, many ways, even very recent examples of such things. A farbrengen is what it's designed, as you can say, the Rebbe decides. He has almost like sort of a today we call it a research paper, but a symposium. What is a Chassidish farbrengen? It's not a place for its galus amidus, to reveal your emotions, to start effing in the moil, starts opening your mouth or your teeth.
on somebody else, there really wasn't a place for an Chassidish farbrengen to give vent to your feelings, put it that way. Chassidish farbrengen was full of inner content, inner pnimitochen, to demand from yourself. We have two people got together, it's two Yetzer Tovs against one Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Haras don't get along, and the Yetzer Tovs get along. By participants of a Chassidish farbrengen, there was a certain seriousness. This one saw that a certain thing that the ways Rebbe davened, the ways Rebbe acted. This one describes Rebbe's prayer. This one describes something he heard from Yechidus that he's able to share. Yechidus, private audience with the Rebbe, one-on-one. And this one remembers now about the Yechidus that they had. And everybody, if you hear about Yechidus from somebody else, now remind you of your own Yechidus or your own things that you can share, but it reminds you of it. And every single person themselves would make an inner journey, would think about their time, their place. And each person would envision themselves, where was I many years ago, how they're standing by the Rebbe, looking at the Rebbe, and the thinking about the tremendous pleasure, inner pleasure they have listening to every word of the Rebbe by Yechidus or by a Maimer. And when a person, so the farbrengen would be making everyone go on their own inner journey by sharing something inner and serious about yourself. And that would make everyone themselves go on their own inner journey. And not just to remember it, but to experience it from new. And when someone sing a niggin, wasn't to be a time filler. Someone should sing a niggin because it would burst out from them. Sometimes it bursts out from everyone together. A niggin of gaguim, a niggin of longing, a niggin of shliach nefesh, or your soul is trying to climb higher. Techanunim, it's a supplications to Hashem. And of course, by Chassidim, by Chassidish farbrengen, many stories of Chassidim, stories of Rebbeim, stories of a Chassid as well, which describe not just Chassidus, but darkei Chassidus, that room of Chassidus, the environment of Chassidus. And if after a niggin looks many times farbrengen, when people start dancing, everybody felt that suddenly from the great simcha after coming out of Yechidus, it would be a big dancing. And this is the way Chassidish farbrengen was structured. And when the Frierdiker Rebbe says, and these are the type of farbrengens that I long for. Itzemach Tzedek, in the later years, before he passed away, one of his sons was with him, and he walked into the Tzemach Tzedek, and he saw Tzemach Tzedek was crying, and he gave like a big krech, a big sigh. We learned Hayamim 2 days ago. It's a very big teshuvah. And he asked his father, "What's wrong?" And Tzemach Tzedek said, "Because it's already been 50 years since I have been by Chassidish farbrengen." And with that, the Tzemach Tzedek burst into tears. And his son was looking at him. Tati, you're the Rebbe. I mean, you make Chassidish farbrengens. And you're by the Mittel Rebbe. I'm talking about 50 years ago, still in the lifetime of the Alter Rebbe, his grandfather. What does it mean that Tzemach Tzedek said that it's already been 50 years that he's not been by Chassidish farbrengen? And so Tzemach Tzedek told him that there was, long story short, there was one time when he was called in by the Alter Rebbe. Alter Rebbe told him that he's appointing him. And the Tzemach Tzedek then was 16, I think, maybe 15. It was after his chasana. He got married at 14. And he appointing him to become a guide, a mashpia, a leader to the chassidim of the, or coming to come and learn in chadarim, in the special, elite chassidim of the Alter Rebbe, Alter Rebbe would handpick to learn in, it's called the shachanas, the tables, in certain groups of elite chassidim, and he should guide them. And after that time, he says, from then on, all chassidim treated him with now a newfound respect and a newfound
sort of distance. Now this is the Samach Tzedek. He's a grandson of the Alter Rebbe, but they looked at him now as very great. And the Alter Rebbe, later on, when he was 24, 23, that's when the Alter Rebbe passed away. And it was the lifetime of the Mittler Rebbe. And eventually, 14 years later, the Mittler Rebbe passed away. And then Samach Tzedek accepted the Nesius, became Rebbe. And he was a Rebbe for close to 40 years. And the Rebbe Marash describes this, what happened. And he says, looking at his father, Tzemach Tzedek, crying that I've never been Mechsidish farbrengen. He says, once everyone started respecting me and looking up to me and giving me prestige, says no longer was I able to be just blending into the crowd. Right? I wasn't able to, how you say, be in peace, be incognito anymore, and go join a Chassidishe farbrengen. And since then, he says, I've never been by Chassidishe farbrengen, a regular Pasha Chassidishe farbrengen. He has never been by one. Of among Chassidim, of course, he's by the Mittler Rebbe, he's by the Alter Rebbe, Samach Tzedek himself. But he has never been a participant in a regular Chassidishe farbrengen without a Rebbe, without there. And the Rebbe Marash says, can you imagine, think to yourself, you have a tzaddik, oilam, right? The tzaddik of the world, tzaddik elyon, tzaddik of the neshama vatzilus, nasi adar, right? Tzaddik of the, like a tzamach tzaddik. He's ben benoy shakadosh, ben bitoy shakadosh. He is a grandson. He's a son-in-law of a tzaddik of the Mittler Rebbe. He's a son of a big tzaddik. His father was Shalom Shachna. His grandfather was one of the top, one of the greatest talmidim of the Maggid Mizrich. Ben Bita Shakadosh, the daughter of the son of a daughter, grandson of the Alter Rebbe, of a Kaddish, of the holy. And his entire life, 50 years, he's living as a Parush. He's above and beyond any physical things and everything he's done for the Jewish people over these times. And what's bothering him, that he didn't have the chance to be by a Chassidishe farbrengen, to be a regular participant in a Chassidishe farbrengen, what a Chassidishe farbrengen could accomplish. There's a letter from the Rebbe that to the Hanhala, of a yeshiva, I think in Eretz Yisrael, but many immigrants were coming in from Morocco and they're coming to learn. And the Rebbe was telling them it's important that they shouldn't only learn Chassidus, but the arum from Chassidus, the environment of Chassidus. That's very important to give to them as well. There's many ideas of Chassidus which are not taught, which are experienced. And the way to experience it is through a Chassidishe farbrengen. You need, in order to give some, liquidity, you can have lots of mortar, but if it's dry, it's not going to stick. You got to add water. You got to put a little moisture, lubrication, life into it for it to stick. And all the words of Chassidus Mamarim that we're learning, they're very important. But the room of Chassidus farbrengen, is very, very important. What Chassidishe farbrengen can accomplish, even Malach Michal cannot accomplish. There was in the 1930s, it's after Friedrich Rebbe, had to leave Russia, and the Chassid, the Bishop de Masmid, was one of those people, maybe the person who the Friedrich Rebbe gave the ability to give brachas, give blessings to, after he left Russia. He himself, Bishop de Masmid, left in the early 30s. Also, he left Russia. He came to America. He came to Pittsburgh. He is a flyer. I'll bring it up one day about how the Bishop de Masmid, he spoke in many shuls here. On Shabbos, Friday night to one shul, Shabbos day in the next shul. Shal Shudas time, those were two shuls in East Liberty. And then Shal Shudas time, he spoke in Kollel Eretz Hatzvi, easy, right over here. Spoke words of Chassidus. And there's a flyer from there. If you find it, Bishop de Masmid, he was eventually killed by the Nazis, Mach Shemam. So the Bishop de Masmid was by a farbrengen in my great-grandfather's house. His name was Rabbi Yitzchak Raskin. And he only had daughters. He had no sons. He asked the Friedrich Rebbe bracha to have sons for boys, and Friedrich Rebbe told him Some Chassidish Eidmer, you will have Chassidish son-in-laws, and they'll be for you like sons. So you understood from the Frierdiker Rebbe that you should no longer ask for a bracha for boys. Later on, there was a farbrengen in their house with a bishop de masmid, and sort of like a last story where they ran out of Chaim, and he asked him to go get mashka, and he said, on condition you give me a bracha to have a boy, promise to have a boy. He says, who am I to have a bracha? I'm not a Rebbe. He says, it's well known. He told him, answer back, the Frierdiker Rebbe gave you the power to give brachas, and eventually got it out of him. He gave him a bracha to have a baby boy. And he went down to the street, and he found a pharmacy that was open or something, and he managed to get for the farbrengen. And he says they had a baby boy, and unfortunately, the child passed away a week before the bris. 7 days old, the day before the bris, a week old, and they gave it a name by some name that was given by the cemetery. And so you realize you don't play around with the brachas of a Rebbe. There's many people that me and you and all of us think of examples, I'm sure, how one farbrengen, one Chassidish farbrengen really changed their outlook for life. Some people learned chitas every single day because of it. Some people learn other Ramam every day because of brachas. The tshuka, the yearning to go to a Rebbe, to see a Rebbe, to learn Chassidus, to devote yourself, push yourself beyond your boundaries. When Chassidim are together, what it says in Tanya, 10 Jews are together, even the greatest malach, the greatest angel can't be there. Because the kedusha, the greatness is too great. Chassidim get together for a positive thing, has a tremendous koyach, tremendous power. And there's many stories, many times, when the Rebbe, instructions from the Rebbe says to make a farbrengen in a certain place. And to conclude with a very, it's a good story, but this idea of Chassidish farbrengen is very important. There was and the Rebbe particularly gave instructions to have farbrengens, general instructions, day after day, time after time. Yud Beis Tammuz coming up, the Rebbe says you should make 3 farbrengens and you connect it to Yud Beis Tammuz. In the month of Kislev, every day from Yud Kislev till Chanukah, through Chanukah should be a farbrengen. The constant push for farbrengens. It's a special thing, of course. And the special koyach, the power, which is by farbrengens. So there were, he said to conclude with one anecdote, Rabbi Gupin, he's a shliach in Hartford, Connecticut, many, many years. And there was one time where he made a very large event. It was a big, big dinner. He brought many dignitaries. It was a huge success. So many people came. And it was very successful, everything else. And publicity and financially, and he wrote to the Rebbe about it, and he received no reply. He came to a farbrengen by the Rebbe. He came to one of the Rebbe's farbrengens and said l'chaim to the Rebbe. The Rebbe didn't answer him l'chaim. So of course, the Rebbe would answers or said l'chaim if the person worked on themselves. Anyways, goes by some time, and there's an instruction from the Rebbe that every single Yom in the Praga, every single special day, on the Chabad calendar, and on the Jewish calendar, you should make a farbrengen. All shluchim. So he was one of the, maybe Chav Cheshvan, one of the special days, but those who are not, card carrying, not every person will probably come to such a farbrengen. So, and especially in a town like his, where he's only chassid, and so he got people together to farbrengen. And let's say you got 2 or 3 people, they came together and they all said bracha on food together. And he said, said a few things for an hour, a few stories, sang a niggin. And that was a farbrengen that took place. And wrote to the Rebbe a report about this, detailed, meaning exactly what happened. And he got back a long, beautiful reply from the Rebbe. Thank you very much for the good news. You gave tremendous nachas. You should continue to share such good news in the future, and a bracha. It's not necessarily only the big flashy events, but not only Klal Yisrael, but the Rebbe Yisrael, 1, the 2, the 3 people by farbrengen, and that's what really could make a tremendous effect and a tremendous ongoing idea and tremendous knowledge of not just what Chassidus says, but the category, the environment of Chassidus which comes a lot of Chassidische farbrengens. And with this, I would like to